guys, welcome back to Ash Art Books. So I thought today I would just film kind of a quick video talking about some of my comfort reads. So I think with everything going on right now, everyone's kind of in this place of uncertainty and not quite knowing what to do and just feeling a little stressed and anxious. So in these times, I usually love to turn to books as a place of kind of escape and comfort. So obviously a comfort read is going to be kind of personal, and it's gonna, for me, it usually is either something nostalgic or a specific reason I like reading that book or something like that. I thought I'd still give you a list of a few of my favorite comfort reads, things that I've gone back and reread that I just kind of get lost in, and for me that's the most important thing, is kind of being able to just escape into them. So hopefully maybe you can find one of these that you want to pick up, whether it's one you've read before and want to reread as well, or you haven't tried but maybe it would be a good opportunity to. Just thought I'd give some ideas, and I would love to know any of yours. So my first couple are all YA books, and that's mostly because for a long time YA was my thing. It was what I loved reading the most. And so a lot of my old school favorite series, or I guess you could call them like romance series, are YA, and I just find such comfort in them and kind of happy memories. So the first one I'm going to mention is the Luck series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I know the covers are not the best, like this is the bind up cover, but I promise you the series are great. So the first book in the series is called Obsidian, and there are 5 or 6 books in the series, and I love them all. This is one of my favorite series, like, of all time, probably always will be. It's about a girl named Katie who is a book blogger, and she's very into books, and then she's a teenager, so she's like 17, and a new boy moves in next door. And turns out he may not be completely from around these parts, so it has to do with like aliens, and it's just so much going on, so much drama, but I love it, and it is set in high school at the beginning. I would say by the end of the series it's a little bit more towards new adult, but it's just one of those nostalgic series. If you want to dive in and like listen to these or read them, I think it's a great series to get lost in. So another one of my favorite series is pretty much anything by Cassandra Clare. Like I have mentioned before, I was and still am a huge fangirl for Cassandra Clare. My favorite series by her is The Infernal Devices. This is the first one, Clockwork Angel, and I just love this series. It has such a special place in my heart. It is historical settings, you know I love that. And just Will and Tessa and Jem, the characters in this series, are so endearing, and this is another series that, for me, a fantasy series is a great place to get lost and kind of get away from reality for a while. This is kind of both. So it's set in our world, but in historical setting in 1800s, and it has things like shadow hunters and demons and warlocks, and I just love this series. And if you are one of those people who haven't tried it out yet, I highly recommend trying to get your hands on this, or maybe the ebook. And if you have, I think it's a great time to do a reread of it, and I've been itching to since I read the latest book, Chain of Gold, because it is somewhat related to this series. So I personally love this series, and I think it's a great choice. The next one I feel like all of us know, but for me it definitely falls into that comfort read category, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses. No, this is not my favorite book in the series, but it is the first book in that series, and just in general, really any fantasy series, like I mentioned, is going to be a good one for me. I have been considering rereading this series because I haven't done it the whole thing as a reread. So personally, this is one I might pick up, but again, you know, your problems don't seem as big when you're kind of messing with all these other, kind of dealing with the other characters' problems. So I love this series. It's one of my personal favorites. I think there's a lot of mixed feelings on it on book 2, but for me personally, I really enjoy it. One I didn't pull out, but I do think in a way I can see it being a comfort read, but it's very long, and I've only read it once because I just finished it, but that's the Kate Daniel series by Alona Andrews. While that is in our world, it's like urban fantasy, so I do think that kind of applies. If you haven't read that series, I think that is a comforting read, because even though a lot of crap is going down, like, you know that Kate is gonna handle it and just gonna like save the day. So something like that I think is also a comfort read. So in the same way that to me a fantasy series, or a YA fantasy particularly, can be a comfort, I also find historicals, and I've said this before, kind of in the same vein. You're getting lost in history, it's not your time, it's not anything you're kind of dealing with. So I picked out a couple historicals to recommend because you know it's me and I gotta have a historical on the list, a couple. So you know I love Julia Quinn. Her Bridgerton series is thebomb.com, and if you want to dive into that, it's amazing. It might be a good time for it, but if you don't want to commit to all those books at the moment, I think a good place you could start, even though technically it is come after the Bridgertons, is the Smythe Smith series by her, and this is called Just Like Heaven. It's the first one in the, I believe it's a quartet of 4, and they are just so funny and endearing and like lighthearted and fluffy in a good way. So again, these do technically come after the Bridgertons, but I really do think you could pick them up and not have too hard of a time with it. I love this quartet. It's so lighthearted and fun. I really think it'd be a great escape for a lot of us. Then of course, you know, I have to have Elisa Kleypas on here because for me, she is one of the best escapes. And so I decided to include the Ravenel series, which is this one. Which is the first one, is called Cold Hearted Rake. This is another one that I plan on probably rereading soon because after reading Chasing Cassandra, which was the latest and last book in series that just came out, I've been really wanting to revisit this family. For me, Lisa Kleypas just has that kind of fantastical element, even though it's our world. Like, it's just, you want to be there in that house or in that family in the past, you know? All her series are great. The Wallflowers are fantastic, kind of her most well-known series, I'd say. The Hathaway sisters are also really fantastic. And if you're kind of coming off the tail end of the historical romance readathon and you want something else, any of these would be great reads. If you need any other suggestions on historicals that are kind of like fluffy and nice and kind of comforting, let me know, because I'll give you some if you want. Just ask down below. And then I only have like 2 suggestions for contemporaries. I find contemporaries a little bit more difficult to read if I want to like escape and as like a comforting reread type thing, just because sometimes they're too close to reality. But 2 that I have, one is the Until series by Aurora Rose Reynolds. The first one's called Until November, and this is just a really fun, quick read. It's very kind of over the top. She has the best alpha males, alpha guys. And it's all about like finding the true love, and once the guy finds like the one, it's like the boom. And I've loved this series for a long time. And I've reread the series a couple of times, and I just find them so comforting because you kind of know what's gonna happen. Like, they find their person and that's it. Almost like a Fated Mates, but like not in a paranormal, in a contemporary book. So I love that series. And then the last one is kind of anything by Abby Glines, but particularly one of my favorites is the Rosemary Beach series. This is the first one, called Fallen Too Far. This is like an OG for me. I read this series a long time ago when it first came out on my Kindle, and to me this series, really a lot of Abby Glines books, but particularly Rosemary Beach, is like a soap opera in book form. Like, you know it's over the top and you know it's dramatic and super angsty, but like you just can't stop reading them or watching them. And I love the series. So the first couple books are about Blair and Rush, the first couple, and then the next couple books follow like different couples in the friend group. So again, if you want like an escape and something like that, I find things like this comforting to go back to. And just kind of a way to get away from reality for a while. Alright guys, so those are just a few suggestions that are my personal kind of comfort reads, things that I kind of turn to when I want just some kind of balance and some kind of stress relief in my own personal life. I would love to know what some of yours are as well. Obviously these are kind of personal, but I think it's fun to share and see if we have any in common. So let me know down below what some of your favorite comfort reads or rereads are. I think it'd be a lot of fun to share with everybody. I hope everyone stays safe and healthy, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.